Three daughters on the okay, and we were there during the pandemic. We're a very important program of Voices of Those Unheard. And I want you guys to tell me a little bit about what's going on at the Family Nurturing Center. And we want to introduce the new executive director, Emma Tobin. I know you've been there, felt like probably like 10 years now, right?
Coming up on my first year, but yeah, it feels a little longer.
Yeah, right. So why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what's going on in Family Nurturing Center and what you're doing to service the community. Because it's like all these diapers and food and all these things are happening in the hood.
Yeah.
Emma.
All these diapers and so much more. So yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's really great to be here. I've been with Family Nurturing Center for almost a year now. We're located right on Bowdoin Street in Dorchester.
Right.
And we've got offices in Brighton and Hyde Park as well, and programs all throughout the city and some other work throughout the state. But I'm a resident of Dorchester. I live down the street from our office.
All right.
And our work is... we do a lot of different things. We have programs that engage parents and help them develop leadership skills, help them advocate for themselves, for their kids, get engaged with their communities. We've got early childhood development programming, play groups, opportunities that connect families to other families. We've got diapers, we've got gift cards, we've got resources people need when they're struggling to kind of get by and they've hit a rough spot. We do a lot of work with returning citizens and even with parents who are currently incarcerated and with families impacted by incarceration. The families who come to us, over half of them speak languages other than English at home. About 20% of them identify as homeless. Most of them are low income. And so these are families who are struggling not just with the fact that parenting is hard, but with the fact that they're facing some real barriers. And I think Family Nurturing Center is all about engaging those families with a lot of respect and a lot of joy and a real belief that they have a critical role to play in their child's well-being.
Yeah. And Richard, I've known for so many years, But, what's really good about the Family Nurturing Center, it's clean. And that's so important. The facility is clean because there are centers you can go in and the facility is not up to par. Tell us a little bit about the programming and the different events that are going on.
Thank you, Ron. First, I think the most important piece, and Emma hinted on it a bit, is we are sort of in the front of what's called the parent leadership.
Right.
And so a lot of the work that we are doing now and a lot of the work we're doing, particularly in the neighborhoods that we serve, is really identifying parents who tend to have been volunteers in the past and really creating a resource to be able to pay them. So we've got moms with young children who come who were participating in the play group, and now they've been trained and they can do a play group on their own. I think the cultural aspect for us is really, and what are we up to, 7, 8, 9 different languages, I think, across the city. And so the engagement for us is very different because we have parents from the neighborhood working with other parents from the neighborhood.
That's good. Doing
really structured programs around early childhood development and putting together a whole professional development program for them. Some of the work is some of those folks are young parents. If they are looking to get into the field of early education, we are sort of creating some outlets for them to at least get the knowledge and the experience and the practice if they want to go up and then seek the academic pieces to it. So that, to me, that's the highlight, and I think that shows up in, as you had mentioned, our events in our, let's see, I don't even want to start from the fall with sort of the impact of COVID, right? So you spoke about the Real Talk. One of the things that we were able to do very quickly was to get our families served through virtual means. So it was by we trained people on how to use Zoom and other virtual platforms. We encouraged folks to really identify what the parents' needs were around technology to make sure that we could continue to engage with them. And then we created, activities and events that were outdoors. We used our parking lot, as you said, our brand new building at 200 Bowdoin Street, which had a great, these dates all get crazy with me because I can't believe that it's literally 3 years later from the pandemic now, because it was March 13th or whatever it was that we literally closed down everything. But we at that point, we had 150 families that were supposed to be starting parent education programs within the month. So our March and April is really our geared up space for our parent education. And we had a program that was supposed to start the night that we literally had to shut the building down. We had our first annual gala was scheduled for 2 weeks.
A week later, yeah.
2 weeks after the shutdown. We were involved in a big conference, New England Fathering Conference, and a week before the event, everybody had hotel rooms, all the registrations, all that stuff.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
So, I mean, I just think back to how I say that, I have, me, I've known you for years. I have these terminology concepts. So we went from reacting to a pandemic to responding to it, is how I said. And I think our staff and our team did an incredible job of making sure that we contacted every one of the families that we had on our list, checked in to see what their real needs were, and really made a quick adaptation to basic needs. So it turned into, wipes and sanitizers to address the pandemic, masks. We still are doing, to this day, thank you to Tufts Health for supporting our diaper pantry in the way that they have, because we are able to provide diapers on a monthly basis to, I think there's like 120 something families ultimately that are on the list, but we do 3 days a month. We have it set up with the registration. People have appointments. We know the sizes. We know the age of the children. We usually include, because I am a literacy advocate, we usually include books or some kind of educational toy in the package, so that the parents have a way to engage their children outside of the phone and the iPad and the laptop. And I think that really is the staple of Family Nurturing Center, is our real trust in the idea that parents are their children's first teacher.
Yes.
And the reality of how do we do things that are encouraging parent-child engagement. So
That's
not
awesome.
just taking kids and doing a child care, drop your children off, know what we're saying, and the parents come in, tell you Wednesday mornings is, I got to get you over there on a Wednesday morning so you can see in that playroom that's downstairs, because because now it's full, and we're doing nutrition classes with the parents. We're doing literally how to take the phone away and play with your kids with the old school stuff, right? We didn't have phones.
We didn't have phones. Right. I want to circle back about, you had mentioned the 7 different languages. It's like. That's incredible. It's like a bowl of salad, right? And you have the international experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I've been working in some kind of human services my entire career, but earlier in my work life, I mostly worked overseas. So I lived in India and in Nepal and in Thailand for about 6 years total. And then when I came back to the U.S. and to Boston, because even though I've lived around the world, I only ever live in Boston when I'm here. I worked with refugees and immigrants who are newly arriving to the city and to the state. Family Nurturing Center's work, our focus is different. It may not be about, getting your visa or getting your first job in this country, but these are programs that parents coming from outside of the United States really want and in many cases need, because the way that parenting kind of functions here and what's expected of parents, especially in engaging with the schools, it's totally different than what they may have encountered in another country. And suddenly they're here and their kid is coming home with all these letters and notes and come to a meeting and come to, parents' night or whatever it is. And they're like, "What? Why? You're the teacher. Why do you need this from me?" And different expectations around what discipline looks like. And so I think parents who are newly arrived to this country, or who have even been here for a little while, but are still kind of, getting a handle on what it means to parent here, I think find a lot of strength in Family Nurturing Center, and they find each other, right? They're connecting with other parents who are facing the same challenge. So one of the things I love about our organization, and not just the families that come to us, but the staff, is how incredibly diverse we are, right? Like when we have a staff meeting and people bring food from home, we buy food for people too. But when we say, y'all
got the best lunch now. I love y'all meetings.
We've got good meetings. So our staff want to do the potlucks because they want to bring in food from home, and then we've got Dominican food and Jamaican food and Trinidadian food, and it's delicious and fun.
The male group that you have. Tell us
Nurturing Fathers program.
Nurturing Fathers program.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because Solomon Clark, who was here earlier, had talked a little bit about mental health, and we can kind of pull that into it as well. So often, and particularly black men, and the whole incident with Twitch dying, a lot of folks start to come forward and start talking about mental health. Tell us, how has the Family Nurturing Center been a critical role as far as dealing with mental health, support groups, and so forth?
Yeah, so we run a number of parenting education programs, and I think, specifically around the Nurturing Fathers program, they really, I started working on the fatherhood stuff probably, I don't want to date myself, but
in the 80s.
early 2000 is really
when I was a little kid.
Yeah, back when you were one of the teenagers or something. Good try, Ron. But I think there was a real push in a national level. I was at the time working for a state agency, to implement programs that supported low-income families in the systems, most notably with child support, with DCF, with other sort of systems that were impacting family life, and particularly impacting family life in low-income communities and with people of color. And so one of the ways that we got supported to do that was by doing fatherhood programs. And at the time, I think it was really, again, sort of nationally driven, but the goal was to push working with fathers into the family work, right? That when you in the old days, again, the examples, the environments weren't always welcome and comforting for a dad. If you showed up at school, you sort of were like, okay, do we even have a conversation with the dad, with the kid? Where's the mom? Right? I use my own classic example of taking my oldest son, Richard, who just got married in November.
Okay. Yeah. Congratulations.
To his pediatric appointment. And, his mom had usually taken him. I was available, and you know that thing. Well, he needs to be there at 8:00, so get him over there. So I get the kid there at 8:00. We walk in, him and I go in. He goes over to the little toy thing that they have in all the places, and I go to the lady and I said, "Yep, I'm here." She said, "Oh, Richard," and she starts talking to him. Because you weren't talking to me. So I sit down, and I'm watching her because she kept looking at the door, like my son's mom was going to ultimately come in, and I was like some transportation system or something. I don't know what that was about, but I couldn't handle it for more than 4 minutes. You know me.
Yeah.
And so I said, are we late? Are we early? Is there some kind of check-in thing I'm supposed to be doing here? And she literally looked at me and said, "Well, where's his mom?"
Interesting.
And I said, "She's not going to be here today, and I hope that doesn't mean that the appointment's not going to happen, because I'm going to make a point of bringing him every time now."
Wow, that's
wild.
Deep. That's deep. Wow.
And I did. And so the point is, and so my intensity around working with the fatherhood was based on my own personal experiences. And once there was a structure sort of put around it, the Nurturing Fathers program really is based on a model that is a psychoeducational model. It's 13 sessions long. Each session, basically sequences. We do a graduation at the end, celebrate the dads. It's some of the most incredible things to hear some of the work that the guys do internally to sort of accept their role as a father and as a nurturing father, we call it. But really it's around taking responsibility for your role as a dad with your kid. And one of the highlights of that, it's the same thing like you said. They eat every week, and they talk, and they sit for 2 hours. But it's a structured discussion. It really has a model, because we look at parenting styles and parenting attitudes at the beginning of the program, and then we look at them at the end to sort of gauge the effectiveness of the model that we use. I said, but the highlight to me, and I think the highlight to most of the folks, is the graduations, because the graduations are, and in some cases, they're guys who don't have custody of their children, don't live with their children regularly, so we make a big effort to get them to invite their whole family to the graduation. I've had some of the guys tell me it's the first time they ever really graduated from anything in a ceremonial kind of way. They have to, at the very end, the build up to the program leads them to a place of what am I going to be and who am I going to be as a dad, and what am I going to do different
Right.
than what I was doing before I started this program. And again, they get the Nurturing Fathers hat and the Nurturing
Okay.
Fathers t-shirt.
So I didn't get the hat.
You got to go through the program.
You didn't complete the program, Ryan. Once again,
That's your ED.
That's it. You graduated for a number of places, but you haven't graduated from the Nurturing Fathers program.
So speaking of celebrations, graduation, we have a big event coming up.
We do.
Gala. Let's tell us.
Yes, we are so excited. So, as Richard said, we had our first annual gala scheduled for, the week the pandemic started, or the week we all accepted there was a pandemic. So that one ended up being virtual. Last year, we had our first annual in-person gala, and this year is our second annual gala. It's going to take place on March 31st. It's a Friday evening at the JFK Memorial Library, and we are celebrating Boston-based artist and children's book illustrator Aqua Holmes.
Okay.
And Aqua is an incredible member of the community, activist, person working to strengthen families and communities. And her work, which was recently featured in a solo show at the Museum of Fine Arts, is incredible. And for us, I think for all of us at Family Nurturing Center, her work is a visual depiction of our work.
Wow.
It shows Boston, it shows families, primarily families of color, together. It shows parents and kids together reading, sitting at the bus stop, looking at a newspaper, doing the everyday things of life, but it shown in the most beautiful way. And so this event is going to be just a celebratory moment to sort of thank Aqua for everything she does for
That's
Boston
awesome.
and to lift up our work and hopefully to bring some visibility to Family Nurturing Center for a whole new audience.
That's awesome. And speaking of, the work that you do, the thing that I really like, the collaboration piece. Tell us a little bit about the Bowden Cares Coalition.
So we are...
And we're a part of it, by the way.
Yeah.
Just want y'all to know.
Yeah.
I got you.
Those are, again, sort of fit into our. We did a little visioning just on that, just literally.
What do we call it, Richard?
Visioning. We call it visioning. Yeah, we did some thinking like, okay, how do we make this work and how do we expand it? So that's now fitting into a model where we have. Put together some resources and have some staff in a concept called coalition and community engagement, right? And so Dorchester Cares, Tara was on your show a while back, is one of the entities that we are sort of we have a relationship with in a very good and close relationship in that they're part of Family Nurturing Center.
Okay.
And so the coalition that's attached to that is a residents-driven group. With that, we have been able to secure funding for a couple of initiatives, really to establish a real presence for ourselves on Bowden Geneva. That building is relatively new. It's 3 times as much space over the long run, I think, particularly programming space than what we've ever had. So the goal is really to embed our programs and our services into the community where our building and our facility is located. Even though we have a bunch of statewide programs and some citywide programs, we really, the board of directors and the staff really are committed to making sure that we are serving the immediate community. And really, again, that's the stuff that shows up. We've got a major piece that is Bowden Cares, but we've got Healthy Bowden Geneva, which again, thank you to the folks at Beth Israel Deaconess for the funding on that. Thank you for the folks at the Massachusetts Executive Office of
Housing and Community Development.
That's a mouthful. You do the acronym.
I just call it EOHD.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
I think all of those programs are so important because they acknowledge that it's not just about direct services to families, it's about acknowledging the structural barriers these families face and working to break those down.
All right. Well, thanks for coming and thank you for the work that you're doing. One more time, tell us about the gala. It's March
31st, Friday, March 31st. Doors will open at 5:30 p.m. JFK Memorial Library. You can visit our website, familynurturing.org. You can learn about the gala there. You can purchase tickets, and we hope you'll join us.
And you have final words?
I shamelessly say www.familynurturing.org or like us on Facebook, Family Nurturing Center of Massachusetts. Yeah, if you go onto the website, you can probably connect to all of our social media sites and get any information you need about the services.
Well, again, thanks for coming and being, and come on back. You know, 'cause I'm gonna be over there. I'm gonna be there this Thursday. I'll be there Thursday. Family Nurturing Center. Emma Tobin and Richard Claytor will be right back.